Hey guys, RedPandaMining here. Hope you're doing well, having a really great day. This video wanted to talk to you all regarding a few different home Bitcoin miners that have come out recently, I guess over the past year, and just to do a comparison between the new Canaan Avalon Q that just came out. We just did a full video of this last week, and what I mainly want to compare is just talk about a few very popular miners like the Avalon Nano3, okay, the first gen Nano3, and then I have also the Canaan Avalon Nano3S, the new one that has come out recently. You can tell by the circle screen here, and while the first gen had a square screen here. But then notably, I also want to compare the Bitax Gamma, okay? This one right here is, I'd say, one of the most popular, I guess, home solo Bitcoin miners a lot of people have gotten into, and there's definitely a lot of nuance when it comes to a lot of these miners here as to whether or not someone's going to get a Bitax Gamma or maybe an Avalon Q or a Nano3S or even the Avalon Mini3, which I'm going to have to say this model here is going to be great for those that actually want to utilize heat, because this thing is actually purpose built to be like a baseboard heater. So I want to give my experience for all these things here, as well as compare the efficiency that a few of these popular Bitcoin miners are able to achieve as of now. Okay, so first I want to begin with the Bitax Gamma. This is definitely one of the most popular little tiny, 1.2 terahash at about between 15 to 25 watts. I've seen varying power consumptions on these things, but I'm gonna have to say the, I guess, Bitcoin mining community, for those that have these types of miners, whether or not they're getting into these small types of miners or any other miners out there, the Bitax community is definitely the biggest and also open source. So open source, what does that mean? It basically means that the software that this Bitax Gamma runs on, which is the XOS, is actively being worked on constantly. Like, there's always updates and there's always optimizations, and you can verify this by going to the GitHub to see all the latest updates that have been repoed on GitHub for the XOS. Another thing really popular with these Bitax Gammas, or any other Bitax product for that matter, is that these are overclockable. Okay, so in the XOS you can actually change the voltage around. People have been swapping out the stock cooler to maybe a Noctua one, or I've seen some people do water cooling ones, AIOs, that type of thing, to get even more cooling ability to overclock it even further. And also the power supply, you can buy like the laptop brick, which I've seen, or I've seen a lot of people do the manual power supply where you can hook up like 5 or 10 of these Bitax Gammas on one 300 watt power supply. I've seen that. So a lot of modular ability with these Bitax Gammas, and also the, I guess, firmware software support is easily updatable through the Bitax Web Flasher. So yeah, that's what I found the strong suit regarding these Bitax Gammas out there. So a lot of strong pros regarding the Bitax products, like the Bitax Gamma here, which I believe right now is about $120. Link down below if you're interested in one of these 1.2 terahash, 15 to 25 watt, advertised for solo mining Bitcoin, or any other fork of Bitcoin, like Bitcoin Cash, for instance, which you would have a lot better chance, obviously, than solo mining Bitcoin. So, great little low power device, but how does it stack up against like the new Avalon Q that just came out, or the Avalon Nano3S, or the Avalon Nano3, which I don't think anyone's really buying the Nano3s anymore. This was the first gen Nano3 that came out about a year and a half ago. I bought like 8 of these myself, and I probably had about 2 of them die. I also had a bunch of issues with the power supplies, and not to say that I only had issues with the Nano3s, but I've also had issues with the Bitaxes. Not the Gammas as much, but the like Supras and like the Hexes, or like 401s, the 201s. All of those ones are dead. Okay, I've had those other models and they all died. So, but the Bitax Gammas, I'm not quite sure how long, reliability wise, long term, how they're going to be. But I do have a good set of these. Let me know down below if you guys have had issues with your Bitax Gammas. Let me know down below. But yeah, the Avalon Nano3, I guess this was really a really popular one that came out last year. And a lot of people definitely bought these because of the 4 terahash, 140 watts, and I think, you know, it was advertised at about 130, 140, 150 bucks with the power supply. So it was a really good value. You actually got a lot of hash rate for the, I guess, dollar per terahash. So it was really good at the time, and I believe it still was back then. But, you know, year and a half later, as we've come along, Canaan has come out with a few other products like the Nano3S, and now the Mini3, and now the Avalon Q, which is, in my opinion, one of the best miners so far, comparing it to everything else in terms of like dollar per hash. The Avalon Q is really good on eco mode. Right now we are getting about, what, 54.94 terahash. It says 925 watts, but actually we are using about 858 watts, okay, at the wall. So the power consumption that's shown at the screen here is definitely off by, I'd say, like 70, almost 80 watts compared to my watt meter. But yeah, this, you know, efficiency wise, this thing does about, what, 15.5 terahash, which is, I think, stacks up against like the Bitmain S21 Pro or S21 Plus series, WhatsMiner, M60S++, those types of model, big boy models. This is a home, quiet, you know, 45 decibel miner, which for those that want to do it at home and, you know, noise is a concern. They also don't want to use a lot of power, right? This thing's about 857 watts. Granted, if you want to do the standard mode or, you know, super mode, they're going to use 14 to and then 16 to 1700 watts. And then in that case, you got to be worried about if you're going to be running this on a 15 amp circuit or a 20 amp circuit, which I did talk about in the full review video that I did on the Avalon Q here. But for now, since it's summertime for me, I'm running it on eco mode. It's the most efficient, and you know, it's not taking too much power. And I'm not going to be putting this on my like ASIC shelf, right? I'm going to be utilizing this as, I guess, a heater. Maybe not so much during the summertime. I may turn it off during the summer here because it's getting quite hot now. My ambient right now is about 83 Fahrenheit. But same story goes along with, you know, a lot of these other advertised solo Bitcoin miners. The Mini3 definitely purpose built for providing heat. It's not as efficient as the Avalon Q, but I have to say, during the wintertime, I had two of these during the wintertime, the previous wintertime, and it definitely warmed up a single room, like a good 250 square foot room for the wintertime. So I have to say, it provides exactly what it's supposed to do, is heat, and also at the same time, it's mining Bitcoin. And actually recently, I did find a Bitcoin Cash block because I was solo mining Bitcoin Cash to Mr. Retro Mike's pool, and that was great, right? I found pretty much $1,000 Bitcoin Cash block, and it paid itself off essentially because this unit is about $1,000 right now. But anyways, just going back to like the Avalon Nano3S here, okay, let's talk about this guy. I'd say now this is obviously the second generation compared to the first gen Nano 3. So the Nano 3S has an upgraded screen, obviously, also has an upgraded power supply, because I know the first gen, there was a lot of issues with the first gen power supply, and I was one of them. I definitely had an issue, but the new one is definitely a lot better, and the screen is a little bit better as well. And the touchpad, the touch screen buttons are really nice compared to the non-touch buttons. Removable fan filter and whatnot, I mean, that's generally the same. But yeah, a lot more refined type of little 6 terahash, 140 watt miner, okay, compared to the 4 terahash that previous generation achieved, okay? So I believe the Nano3S is actually a really good miner, again, under 140 watts. That's on high mode. There's a medium mode and then also a low mode as well. So similar with the Avalon Q and actually also the Mini3, there's different power modes on all of these models here, which really gives it that, depending on your situation, your living situation, how hot it is in your place, or what the type of circuit that you have, how much power are you utilizing on a single circuit, right? There's definitely going to be a place for each of these miners, right? The Mini3, the Avalon Q, and the Avalon Nano3S. So if maybe someone is maybe running on solar, and maybe they don't have that much solar, so they're gonna maybe opt in for the Nano3S. Or someone has a dedicated circuit, and maybe they have free power in their condo, and they're willing to buy one of these Avalon Qs, maybe run it on eco mode and go to town, right? 54 terahash. 800, 900 watts, and you're at the efficiency level against the big dogs like the S21 series. Or you need you live in a place that's really cold all the time, and you're needing a actual purpose-built heater, like a baseboard heater, and the Mini 3 is going to be your option. So Canaan definitely has a lot of different home style miners that fit the bill for someone that needs to utilize the utility of heat, right, from these miners. But at the same time, you also get to mine Bitcoin as well. That's where I see a lot of value in these miners. But each of them has a different situation, depending on your situation, of course. Do you only want to use like 140 watts? Nothing too crazy that outputs, a lot of heat, or just a hand warmer for your office desk or something like that. The Nano3S is perfect for that. Or going back to the, Bitax Gammas. If you are a person who may be wanting to get into trying out mining Bitcoin, right, then the cheapest option is going to be one of these Bitax Gammas for like 120 bucks. The Nano3S is about, I think, 300 bucks right now. The Avalon Q, of course, is about over $1,900. The Mini 3 is about $1,000. So again, budget is also going to be a concern for someone that's going to be looking into this. So you got to consider the budget, how much money you want to spend. Do you have the electrical infrastructure? Are you wanting a lot of heat output from these things? And if you are going to have that, will it be okay for you to do that and not be too like intrusive and maybe making you sweat because it's outputting a lot of heat? The Mini 3 is quite the heater, I have to say. The Avalon Q is definitely quite the heater as well. But now let's go into the computer now. I want to talk about the efficiency of these miners more in depth. And I plan on doing another dedicated video about that, because now I'm talking about the efficiencies of all these miners near the end. I don't think many people really watched till the end of this video. If you did, let me know, but let's go in the computer and then we're going to end it off there. All right, let's look at the Google Sheet, which link down below if you want to take a look at it as well. Okay, so I'm on my Google Sheet here, which I have curated over the past, 5 to 6 years now. I have tested a lot of different hardware. Some of them have the advertised hash rates and power consumptions, but also the numbers that I've tested with certain ASICs like the Avalon Q, S21s, Watts miners, MicroBT, all that kind of stuff, Watts miners, Avalon Mini3s, Nano3Ss, etc., etc. Okay, so yeah, I have this link down below in case you guys want to access this spreadsheet. But I just created a Bitcoin solo sheet here. So this is for basically all the home, solo miner or heaters or whatever style miners. Okay, all the little Bitaxes, NerdQ axes, even the lucky miners I've added in here, all the Mini 3s, Nano3S, etc., Avalon Q. Okay. Bitax Gamma. Okay, so just to see how the efficiency is and also the dollar per terahash, just whether or not if it's worth it to buy, comparing how much hash rate each of these devices do compared to how much the prices of these. And I've updated majority of the prices here today, so they should be on point. And yeah, okay, so link down below if you guys want to see it. So anyways, looking at the efficiency first, okay, let's just take a look at the efficiency of the Canaan Avalon Q here. Okay, so on eco mode, all right, which is my favorite, okay, 54, I was getting 54 terahash at about 843 watts. Now, I was getting a different result after about a day. I was getting like 54.9 or 8 something, and then using a bit more power, but that's going to be because my ambient temperature was also a little bit higher as well. So that's another thing to consider, right? The environment does play the part, similar to a lot of the big boy ASIC miners. If the temperature goes up, it's going to use a bit more power, fans are going to ramp up, etc. And also the hash rate sometimes goes up. Anyways, eco mode. Out of all the home, miners here, the Avalon Q on eco mode beats every single other miner that's out there, okay? As you can see, even beats out the Bitax Gamma 601, 1.2 terahash, very popular Bitax Gamma, which we talked about in today's video. Now, this, I've seen varying power consumptions. I've seen Bitaxes go to 15 watts, and then I've seen some go to 25 watts. Notably, most of mine go between 20 to 25 watts. So, just keep that with a grain of salt. The efficiency or silicon lottery of these Bitax Gammas does play the part, and it's pretty it's pretty sporadic per se. Okay, so anyways, the efficiency on this one is between, I'd say, 15 and 20. Okay, depending on your power consumption. But anyways, just looking at other efficiency now, if we're comparing it now to the Nano3S. Okay, the Nano3S definitely uses a little bit, I guess, older chips per se, and you can see on low mode, the Avalon Nano3S does 19 watt per hash. Then the medium mode does 20.6, and then high mode does 22.5 watt per hash. So not better than the new Avalon Q, and also the Mini 3 is also the same similar situation here. On eco mode, Mini 3 does 25 terahash at about 500 watts. And then going down here, mining mode, 37.5 at 800 watts. That's a 21.33 watt per hash. And then super mode, which does about 30 terahash, 650 watts, and that's 21.66. So yeah, I think it's the same technology, same chips as Avalon Nano3S and the Mini 3. They seem to be pretty close together in efficiency, so similar chips. But then when you go to the Avalon Q, it looks like it's that next leg up in efficiency, as you guys can see here. And so when we go to the big boy miners, including all the small miners I have on this list here, on this sheet here, you can see the Avalon Q actually stacks up with like Bitmain S21 Pros, S21 Pluses. Not the XP, which does about 13.5, 14 watt per hash, but it's not that bad. It's pretty good as a pretty close contender in efficiency against the big boys. Okay, so that's pretty good. The most efficient one I've seen thus far as a home miner that's obviously really quiet, right? Provides heat, all that good stuff. Okay, but now, how about the dollar per terahash? All right, this is where you want to figure out what is going to be the most, I guess, cost-effective miner that you're going to invest in. Just agnostic to the efficiency. We're just talking about the price and then how much terahash you're getting. So this is maybe going to go towards people who are cautious of trying to break even or ROI on their miner. So the lower the dollar per terahash, the faster essentially you're going to get your money back. So you may notice I have an example here, a Bitmain S19J Pro on low power mode, getting about 82.5 terahash, but at about 2000 watts. So that's about 24.2 watt per hash. But this is something that you can buy on eBay for about less than a couple $100, maybe $400 I've seen on eBay, recently sold $400. So if you're looking at the dollar per terahash, it's about $4.85 per terahash. So that makes this, the S19J Pro, the best dollar per terahash, especially if you had free power. Okay, so for people that had free power, maybe you can run this on a pretty big solar setup. The S19J Pro is like a 5, 6, 7-year-old, Bitcoin miner from Bitmain that, outputs 82 terahash, right? It's pretty big, pretty baller. So pretty close to the, super mode on the Avalon Q, which does 90 terahash, but at 1674 watts, which is an 18.6 watt per hash. So, pretty comparable, stats here. Okay, so if you're someone with had free power, or someone that didn't care about noise, okay, the S19J Pro LPM mode is gonna output a lot of noise, like 70, 80 decibels, right? Pretty loud. And then, although there's some people who can retrofit it with a 3D printed, fruition designs kit, make it quieter, use an inline fan. There's that option, right? Of course, you gotta spend a bit more money, but hey. If you're really cautious about how much you're spending, I got to give this example because this is something that, some people do, right? This is maybe someone has free power. They don't care about noise. They're willing to run one of these Bitmain S19J Pros. At least I put the idea out there for people thinking about that. But if noise is a concern, you want the latest tech, you want more efficiency, you don't mind, spending a little bit more, then the next leg up, the next step is going to be the Canaan Avalon Q. That's going to be the next best dollar per terahash. Canaan does price their units, I'd say, pretty good, though some people are going to say it's a bit expensive, especially if you were to compare it to the bigger boy models. Okay, so like S21s, S21 Pro, Avalon A15 XPs. The dollar per terahash goes much higher, right? But as you get to the bigger boy ones, it's gonna be a lot lower dollar per terahash. S21 Plus going to $15-16 per terahash. You guys get where I'm getting at. But just looking at now older models, okay, Avalon Nano3S, you get in the $50 per terahash range, okay, because these things are going for about $320 right now on Helium Deploy. If you're interested, link down below. Use code RPM. But just, yeah, you know, as we go down, there's other models here that are definitely, you know, not cost effective, the dollar per terahash. Okay, so as you go, as you guys can see, some miners here, NerdQX++, NerdQX Hydro, they're getting it over the $100 range in dollar per terahash, which is really bad. Okay, so your ROI, if you're, I mean, everyone's looking at it, you know, at a pool mining level. Most people are not pool mining with these things, right? I'm personally not pool mining on these things. I'm testing my luck on solo mining Bitcoin Cash. You know, at least that's a bit of a higher, higher chance to get a Bitcoin Cash block. Not a Bitcoin block, but a Bitcoin Cash block. So that's how, you know, depending on your situation, depending how you look at it, some people really do look at the dollar per terahash and really care about how fast they can, you know, get their money back. But, you know, again, right, it goes back to what's your, you know, cost per kilowatt hour. Do you have free power, or do you have solar? There's going to be so many different power variations out there from people, different situations that people are going to go through, and you know, you just have to look at my sheet here and look at all the different numbers and, you know, how much, you know, these miners pull, right? Like I said, you know, depending on the circuits you have, how much hardware you have, you know, if you just want to, you know, smaller, less, you know, not so much heat, then, you know, maybe you're going to go with the Nano3S and, you know, try your luck with a 6 terahash model, or actually 6.42. But then if you want to get a little bit bigger boy, a home miner that's quiet, then the Avalon Mini3. It's pretty good. Then if you want to get more hash rate, also have a really quiet miner, that's going to be the Avalon Q. Or alternatively, sound doesn't matter to you. You gotta run this on 240 volt. I don't know if anyone's done the 120 volt conversion on the S19J Pro. I think someone has. Don't quote me on that, but I don't quite remember. But obviously, you know, at $4.85 per terahash, the S19J Pro LPM mode, for example, is going to be a pretty good value in that regard. If, you know, you don't care about sound, you have 240 volts, etc., 2000 watts, free power, maybe solar. Anyways, guys, yeah, that's it. That's all I want to do in this video. Please let me know your thoughts about, you know, what I just talked about here. Let me know if I missed something regarding, I don't know, these miners, right? Maybe efficiency. I mean, there's one thing. Maybe efficiency doesn't matter, right? As we're talking about low power anyway with all these miners. Maybe efficiency just doesn't matter. I mean, they're all marginally close to each other anyway, and but profitability wise, most of these, you know, at 13 cents per kilowatt hour, the Avalon Q is breaking even. So really, a lot of these miners are not really making much money, especially if you're pool mining. Majority of people are going to be solo mining with these. Anyways, guys, let me know your thoughts. Let me know if this is helpful for you to make your decision. And if you're interested in buying any of these miners, check out mineshop.eu. They got the Avalon Q home. I believe they'll have a pretty big batch compared to other resellers out there. Use code RPM, you get another $100 off if you're interested in the Avalon Q. Also, the ASIC Marketplace has these miners as well. Use code RPM, another $100 off. And also Crypto Miner Bros. They also have, I have a coupon with them. Use code RedPanda. You get $70 off if you're interested in the Canaan Avalon Q here. And looks like they sell the power supplies as well, which is nice for the Nano3S. Okay. All right, my friends, let me know your thoughts. I'll see you on the next video. Link down below for everything. I'll see you on the next one. Have a good one. Peace out. Peace out.